Welcome back, guys. It's Jay
and Fuey.
And today we're going to be doing something a little different. Maybe like a story time. That's what we'll name it. We'll name it a story time. Basically about my mom. If you guys don't know, or for those who don't know me, my mom passed away 6 years ago. Shout out to Moranjali, first of all, because she definitely gave me the idea of doing something special for her birthdays. Her birthday's tomorrow, July 20th. So yeah, she was like, you know what, you should actually do something nice for her, drop like something, you know, basically talking about her and like a tribute or something in memorial kind of thing. So I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. Like,
that was a good idea.
Yeah, she was a really nice person. So she just, a lot of people knew her. They just loved her. So yeah, so Natalie's gonna be kind of like interviewing me in a way, just to kind of fill you guys in. She was with me, by the way, like when all that stuff was happening with me. So it's not like she wasn't with me. It's just that, you know, just to kind of have you guys understand or make it easier for you guys. So yeah.
Without further ado.
Today is a special day because it's my sister's birthday, and it's already been 6 years as of today. We only want you, God, to help us understand why we go, and just to make us have good feelings, good memories of the people that we lose. This was the place that my sister used to love to come to. This was her favorite spot. We are always going to remember her every second of the day.
Though the curtain has to fall, I know you will always be my friend. And though I miss you every day, I know you will always be my friend. And I remember all the things we did when I was a little kid. 'Cause even though you're gone, love goes on, love goes on. So a journey has to end, but I know you will always be my friend. And though I miss you every day, I know you will always be my friend. I remember all the times we had.
What exactly happened?
Okay, so basically my mom, 6 years ago, she went to get a normal, like a regular surgery for a hernia. It went wrong. Like, she was supposed to be in there for like a day or two. And the surgery, I think, was supposed to take like only like a few hours, like 2 to 4 hours or whatever. And my sister actually went with her. I stayed home that day. She was in the hospital for about like maybe 20 days. So what happened was she went to get the surgery. They did some effed up stuff, basically. They cut her intestines. That's what it was. And then they just basically did a whole bunch of stuff that they didn't tell us about. Like, usually when people come out from surgery, they tell you like, oh yeah, this went wrong, or this went well, or, you know, there was no complications. She had complications, but they didn't tell us. Like, she even threw up while she was like in surgery, and they didn't tell us.
For real?
Yeah, they didn't even tell us. We found that out afterwards. So my mom, after she was done, she went to a regular room. Like, that's, you go to like, I forget what it's called, where you just go out, where like you just start waking up and they can just come in to see you for like a few minutes, then they move you into
What
a
is that called?
recovery room. It's called a recovery room. And you're in there for like a few minutes so they could get your room situated. Then they get you into your room. We went to her normal room. Like, she seemed like she was okay. She was talking. You know, she was responsive. Her breathing was kind of a little off because she had asthma and stuff like that, whatever.
I didn't know she was awake.
Yeah, she was responsive. She came out, she was fine. Like, you know, she was talking. Like, I mean, it was hard for her to breathe, like I said, but yeah, she was like fine or whatever. But then like a day or two into it, that's when like everything started going left. Like, she was just like, her breathing, she really couldn't even breathe on her own. She had to have a breathing mask on. And then she had like the oxygen tubes put on as well. So then probably like the second day or so, because we had to wait to even speak to the doctor and stuff like that. So a day or so into it, we spoke to the doctor, and then that's when and it wasn't even the doctor that told us. Her doctor that did the surgery didn't even tell us. It was the assistant. What do they call? Is it RN or something?
If it was
something,
a nurse, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. There's like their assistant or something that they have people in there, and I guess he was like telling us about it. Like, they basically told us they cut her intestine. She threw him while she was sleeping. I think they did something else, but I don't remember. But yeah, long story short, they should have just told us that stuff went wrong. So she wasn't breathing on her own anymore. So basically, they had to move her into ICU because she just completely went left. Like, the third day in, so she had to get moved there, whatever. And every day she was just getting worse. Like, we would go in, they'd be telling us the same thing. They were putting it to us like she was gonna be out in a few days. They just wanted to put, like, in ICU, it's called the intensive care unit. They're supposed to keep more eyes on you because you're the like priority kind of thing. Not that nobody else is important, it's just that you have to have a closer look, you know, observant. I don't know how to put it, whatever. So yeah, they literally have like a glass, and they're supposed to watch you, like watch the patient. So they're like, she was getting worse, whatever. You know, her sugar levels, her salt levels, like her everything was just like messed up basically. So it was basically the waiting game from that point on. Like, we just had to wait for her to kind of get better. Eventually she did start getting better, actually. Like, closer to her final days, she started getting better. Like, it was kind of in between. Like, there was days where she would like go down, but then there was days that she had like, you know, she was on point. There was days that she showed a lot of improvement. Like, it was just in between. It was just depending on how she felt that day. When I first saw her, when she was put into the intensive care unit, it wasn't even like how I left her when she was in the regular room. Like, it was completely different. Like, I went in the room, and just imagine someone you love, like, just going in perfectly normal, and like they come out, and she has like all these like monitoring things, like plugs everywhere, oxygen mask. She had a tube down her throat to help her breathe, basically. There's like, she just had IVs everywhere. She was so swollen, she didn't look like herself. Like, her eyes, she was sedated. She was heavily sedated, because if she was to have been awake, then she would have been trying to, you know, take out the machine that would, you know, was keeping her to breathe a little bit. She had the machine on, but it wasn't because she couldn't breathe. She was doing it every day. She would like gradually improve, because the goal was to kind of lower the machine and have her oxygen, you know, breathe on her own. She had like all these like machines just plugged up to her. She wasn't even the same. She wasn't talking. She was just laying there. She basically looked dead to me. Like, it wasn't her. It just wasn't her. Like, she was such a happy filled, like, she was just, her spirit was like so high all the time. Like, if literally you were having a bad day, she literally would like flip, I'm about to cry. She would flip it upside down. Like, I'm looking at you and you're about to make me cry.
Sorry.
So
She
yeah.
was loud. She was always happy.
She was like the life of the party, basically. She used to work at AITE, and she was a lunch lady. Everyone like loved her. And she worked at Clunan for a couple years. She worked at RIP. And like, she just knows a whole bunch of kids. So a lot of my friends know her. Like, a lot of my friends, or even people that I didn't even know, like, would always be like, oh, hey, like, I know your mom. And I'm like, oh, hey, like, my mom's cool. Like, oh, okay. Like, and And yeah, she was just like a happy person. So when I saw her like that, I was just like, yo, it's so crazy. Like I remember running back out of the room, and there was like my aunt and stuff. They were like all surrounding me, and I dropped to the ground. Like I just dropped to the ground, and I just started bawling. I was like, bro, like my life was just taken from me. I was like, it's just like the craziest thing ever. Like it's so crazy. I basically have to go to the hospital and look at her like that every single day. And every single night I would pray. Like every single night I would go to sleep with her. She used to have you know how like older people would always, you know, they go to sleep in batas, like long,
Yeah,
I guess long t-shirts or something, gowns. That's what they're called.
Dress,
yeah.
but like, yeah.
Sleeping gowns. There you go.
Yeah, sleeping.
So I have one of hers. I still have it to this day, and I used to always go to sleep with it every single night that she was in the hospital. Like I used to pray every single night. Like I used to write on her Facebook wall every night, because that was her. If you knew her, she used to always be on her laptop in the kitchen, either watching a movie or
she
playing
would
games.
always be on her laptop in the kitchen.
Yeah, everybody. Like she would always stay. That's fine. She would always stay in the kitchen, like just chilling. That was her little spot. Like, and yeah, so it was just crazy. It was crazy. And then like towards the end, like that's where it kind of like she was improving. She was doing so much better. She was actually breathing on her own a little bit. We were actually gonna start like take her off the breathing tube. She would every day they would kind of like lower the sedation, so it would kind of beat her a little bit. She wasn't really awake, but it did get to a point where they took her off a little bit, to the point where she opened up her eyes. But that was like the hardest thing for me, when she opened up her eyes, because like, oh my God, like there was just one day I remember that I went in before I went to go to work. I went in there, and like she just opened her eyes and looked at me, and no one told me that they had took her, like they had lowered her sedation. So I went in there, and like she like turned and looked at me so slowly, and it was like I was like, oh my God, like she just looked at me. I couldn't even breathe. Like I was like, oh my God. But it wasn't her. It was just like, I don't know how to put it. It's some medical terms or something. I don't even know. But yeah, like that's how it was. I remember that. Then towards the end, she was getting so much more better, and like closer to her birthday. So her birthday's July 20th. Like 2 days before her birthday, the night before she had a stroke. So the night before she had a stroke, I went home. Her virals were off. Like her blood pressure was like skyrocketing, like it was high. And I remember I told the nurse and everything, I'm like, you know, like her blood pressure is up, you know, it's crazy, you guys need to pay attention to her. My sister stayed with her like every night at the hospital, so like that was a lot. She also went through a lot as well. My brother, unfortunately, he was incarcerated, but like we were like keeping him up to speed with everything, you know. So yeah, the last few days she was doing good. The night before she had her stroke, I remember going to the room. I was like, good night, I'll see you tomorrow. She still wasn't, she was still like sedated by this time, because they had put her down a little bit. And then my sister that night, she kind of had this weird feeling too. The next morning, I woke up and my sister came home. My stepdad had went to the hospital, and his morning routine, like he went to the hospital, and they told him that she had a stroke, and he couldn't understand like why she had a stroke. She was doing perfectly fine, like she was getting better by this point or whatever. So he had called us. I don't know if my story's gonna be all over the place, but like, because I'm just trying to remember stuff. But he had called us because me and my sister were home, and my sister was going crazy in the kitchen, like, because she was just like, just tell me what's going on. I'm coming from my room, I'm like, what's going on? Like, and then she was like, he's not telling me what's going on. He's just telling me that we need to get to the hospital right now, but he sounds like something's going on. We need to go. So I remember us speeding, like we were doing 100 through Stanford. Like we was going so fast. Like I was like, bro, I'm trying to make it to the hospital. I'm not trying to die. Like I remember telling her that, like, and she was like, I just need to get there. So we was just going crazy. We get to the hospital. We wasn't even about to park, bro. Like we just left the car in the front. Like we're in the valet parking. We ran upstairs. My stepdad came to me, and he just started bawling. And I was like, what's wrong? And then he was like, so I'm thinking at this point, like, my mom died, like, and he's like, they're saying that she had a stroke. I'm like, what? how is that even possible? Like, we left her yesterday and she was perfectly fine. Like, this is crazy because she's supposed to be being like monitored. Like, hello, they're literally like right there. And so yeah, like, I just went crazy. My sister went crazy. I went in there, and it was like, that's where it went left. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, they were telling us that we needed to start gathering our family and telling us that, you know, kind of preparing us, I guess, because what happened was they were trying to tell us that she had a stroke. So what happens is that there was a whole bunch of blood in her brain, and they needed to do like x-rays, like some kind of test, so they can see if she had a lot of blood in her head and if she was either going to be brain dead or if she was going to be good. So we had to wait a whole nother day. Then we got the I think we had gotten the results back for one thing. We were still waiting for another, and then it just so happens that on July 20th, I remember going to the hospital, and I'm like, yo, please, like, let everything be okay, like, because they were not gonna call us and tell us that. So we all had to go there, and we had to sit in a circle, and the doctor basically told us that she was like brain dead, and there was nothing that they could basically do. We had another option of, you know, letting her have surgery and them trying to fix it. The like risk of that was like so high that, you know, of her not making it at all. And even if she did make it through the surgery, she wouldn't have been herself. She would have been basically like a vegetable. So like, can you imagine just seeing a person you love being a vegetable? Like, there's nothing you could do for the person. So I knew my mom. I know my mom wouldn't have wanted to like gone through that or suffer or whatever. So basically, you know, we had to come up with a decision to take her off life support at this point. And it was really hard. Like, it was really hard. Like, it was like,
You were how old?
I was 17 actually when this happened. A week before she went into surgery, so 20 days before she passed away, I had my prom, I had graduation, she saw me walk. Like, she was so proud of me. Like, I had accomplished so many things. Like, it was crazy. And like, I felt like literally when that happened, like, there was nothing else like for her to celebrate with me or anything at all. So I'm about to cry again. So yeah, you're gonna make me cry. She's gonna make me, I'm trying so hard not to cry right now, but looking at Natalie's like, oh. I remember when like the doctors came in, they were all in this like conference room. We were all like in a big circle, and he just told us, and I was like sitting there like trying to register. Everybody was crying and like, you know, like hysterically crying, like all in a circle, like, you know how normal people would do. And I was just sitting there like, yo, is this really happening? Like, are y'all like, is this a prank? Like, I'm sitting there like, you're really trying to tell me that my mom is brain dead, and basically like I'm gonna have to take her off life support, because if I do let her have surgery, she's not even gonna be her anymore. It's just gonna be a whole different person. Like, I'm telling you, she wouldn't have been able to talk. Her face could have been slanted. Like, she probably would have to been on a life support, basically breathing tube. Like, you wouldn't want to see someone like that. So we had to just take her off. And I just remember I got so mad, and I just started punching. Like, I was just like, yo, like, this is crazy. I just started spazzing. Like, everyone was looking at me like I was crazy. Like, yo, what is wrong with her? Like, no one's ever seen me like that before. So I just literally had to leave out the room. I called my boyfriend. I just started bawling. Like, I remember I just started bawling. Like, it was so crazy. And like, shout out to him too, because he was there throughout the whole thing. And my friends were too. Like, at the time, I had a big group of friends. Like, but yeah, like, it was crazy. It was really crazy. Yeah, I really wouldn't wish this pain on nobody. Like, not even my worst enemy. So hard. And like, I'm not making this video so you guys can like have pity for me, because if you know me, I'm like the opposite. I'm like a happy person. I'm so like, I'm not to sound like, you know, cocky or anything, but I'm really strong. Like, I'm really strong. Like, so my mom basically, she was declared dead on her birthday. She was 44. She turned 45 on her birthday. I remember going and buying her a little cupcake, because I really thought she was gonna be straight. Like, and I put the cupcake and I left the balloon in there, That was before, like, the doctors came out and told us basically, like, you know, there was nothing that they could do, whatever. And then we still had to wait more. They were trying to basically tell us that we had to wrap it up, or so we had to wait for him to come to from jail. So he was being transported. I forgot how far away, but he was far. And he even came, like, it was a miracle because they weren't even gonna let him. So, and he didn't even do anything. It wasn't crazy, like, what he went in for or whatever. But they had him chained up like a killer. Like, he had like one of them things over his head. It was like a sack or something, like, because no one could have interactions with him. They brought him in through like a back passage door. We couldn't even see him or anything.
Just alone time with her.
Yeah, and it was just him and her and like cops in the room, like. And we couldn't even see him. Like, in intensive care, everything is like closed or whatever, so we were like trying to peek through a little window and we would see him, and I saw him. I was like, yo, this is crazy, because he hadn't seen my mom before that. He hadn't seen my mom in a minute because he was incarcerated. So, you know, it was just crazy for him to even, I can't even imagine, like, he was probably going crazy, like. But yeah, we was just trying to see him or whatever. We almost got him in trouble too, because we were like being mad loud and everything. But yeah, and then he had to go, whatever. And then after that, that's when, like, they were like, okay, you know, you guys need to make funeral plans. And that's when it, like, you know, I was just like, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that. So I let, like, my stepdad and my sister handle it or whatever. And, you know, I did what I had to do.
Where did it happen?
So all this happened at Stanford Hospital. We actually sued, or we were trying to sue, but it's so crazy. It took 6 years for them to like give us the answer. We had a good case and everything. Like, we were suing like the ICU, the hospital, and the doctor. And of course, you know, like, doctors have the best lawyers ever. So somehow something happened in her biopsy or something. Like, something had screwed up or whatever. So basically, our proof was like effed up. And they just closed the case and they just dismissed it. So that was like right out the window. And basically, we really can't do anything unless we have like a bomb ass, you know, lawyer. There's nothing that we could do. I mean, we had a really good lawyer. It was like 3 people like doing it. They work on cases together, whatever. But yeah.
Where was her
her burial and her wake. We had a wake here in Stanford. For a day, or was it a day or two? No, for a day. Yeah, and then we had like the other half in Puerto Rico, because that's where we're from.
The wake was open casket.
Yeah, it was open casket. We had a lot of people came. Like, my mom knew a lot of people. Like, I'm telling you, the line was outside the door to see her. All the seats were like taken. She was like I'm telling you, she was a dope person. Like, everyone loved her. Like, if y'all didn't love me, y'all loved her. Cause like, I mean, she was so, like, she was great, bro. Like, that's why I always tell people, like, yo, take advantage of your moms right now. Like, I know that sometimes they get on your nerves and stuff, and like, or there's just moms out there that don't deserve the love. Like, I get it. Cause like, if they do you wrong or whatever, I get it. But like, if you have a mom, just make sure you take advantage of her and like, just tell her you love her or something, you know. And her funeral was also in Puerto Rico, because my grandfather, he has I don't know what they call it in English, but it's like a big thing. I'll insert a picture, and basically he got it for him and his kids, and it's like, I think there's like 9 or 8 slots, and basically everybody, like everybody's body is in the slots. So yeah, she wanted to be there with her dad, and her mom.
So whenever we're like talking about her or saying like RIP, we always put a little butterfly. Why does a butterfly symbolize her?
So for me, it symbolizes her because when the day on the 20th, on the day like when they told us that we had to make a decision and stuff, on my way there, I was praying, I was thinking like everything's gonna be okay, whatever, like I'm gonna be, like she's gonna be fine, we're all gonna be okay, she's gonna come back home. And we were driving there, and my window was halfway open, and a butterfly just like landed on my window, and it was a white butterfly, and it was chilling on my, like, the window, like it was just chilling there for a minute. And I'm like, that's crazy, because butterflies never do that. Like, they just usually be out, like if you make a movement. And I'm like moving like closer to look at it, and I'm like, I see you, like I know this is you, like I know you good, and I know that this is probably gonna be bad news, but like I know this is you just trying to, you know, say goodbye and like, I'm gonna be good and you're gonna be good. So that's how I took it as, and that's why like I have it. And I also got a tattoo of a butterfly on my foot that says "Gone but never forgotten."
Like we said, she was always loud, like always, and you know she had her little Puerto Rican accent, so it was just so cute.
And she just treated everybody like family.
Yes,
Like she used to
she's
be
like
like
another mom.
Yeah, like literally, like I consider her mom as my mom too. So every time I talked to her, I'd be like, "Ma, Ma," like they knew each other as well too. So
yeah,
that was good.
We went to the hospital a lot of the days. The day that it happened, I was at my dad's, and one of my friends had called me and told me that they either were going to or already did disconnect her, and then my dad brought me home, and my mom brought me to the hospital with all of our other friends, and then we even went into the room and we saw her, and like Jerica said, it was like not like her at all.
It was crazy.
What else? Oh, we would put up pictures on Facebook, and she would
Oh
always
my
just
god,
tag
yes.
herself.
Oh my
She
god. It
took
could
it
be
upon
pictures of
herself.
like us like with a bottle or something, and she would still tag herself. Like, I'm like, okay, Mom, what are you
As
doing?
long as Jerica was in it, she would tag herself.
Yes.
Like not.
Oh, but
no
there were a
warning.
few. There were a few where like if I wasn't in it, she would still tag herself.
For real?
Yes. Prom pictures, she tagged herself in a whole bunch of them. She would always be on her laptop, like I said. She would always be on her laptop,
She really was.
playing games or on Facebook. She'd be just like Facebook messaging everybody. If y'all have any memories, y'all should definitely comment them because that would be really nice to read. Like, and we'll shout you out too. Make sure you comment. We'll shout you out. So yeah, basically that's something about my mom telling you guys what happened. So make sure you guys tune in. Leave us some like story times or like memories, whatever. Anything that you guys want us to talk about in the future or next video, you know, just let us know. Just make sure you comment. Let's get this video to like 500 views. Like, can we do it? Jae&Fuey, let's go. Jae&Fuey. What is that? Jae&Fuey is what it is. You know, because it's Jay
And Fuey.
and stay tuned because we got more videos coming your way. Make sure y'all subscribe and comment.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back.
See you soon.
Bye.
Peace.